today on the episode, we're going to cover a few different things. We're going to just speak a little bit on what is More Life Diaries and where that idea came from and what it is specifically. So the motivation behind that, what it's like just to start a creative journey for us, where it's something that's new to both of us, but we have done a few things in the past to lead us to where we are now.
What is More Life Diaries? This is our journey. More Life Diaries podcast.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check, mic check.
We recording? What's going on, everybody? And welcome to a brand new episode of More Life Diaries. This is episode 2 of the podcast. 2 of 2. We're still here, going strong. And please, if you're listening to the podcast on any app, just make sure to subscribe and review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to also subscribe, like, and comment.
And tell your friends.
And tell all of your friends and your family. Ultimately, if you're able to comment, we'd love to eventually have some sort of back and forth with people who comment. And it'd be great if you guys did all that for us and help us keep going. It's been a very long day. We had 2 crazy kids all day.
Doing a late night post-bedtime podcast.
A post-bedtime podcast for sure. It's like it's a full moon today. It's been a little bit crazy, but
they're wild.
For those that don't know, I'm Mark.
I'm Kat.
And we're just a couple of washed out parents that have decided to sell everything and pretty much move our lives from Toronto, Canada to
Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Yeah. And deadline is in a couple of weeks. So we're just sharing our journey with you guys and our motivations and everything in between. And hopefully it's as interesting for y'all than it is for us living it.
Mm-hmm. We say y'all now.
We're going through the States, so I gotta prep my y'allisms.
Sounds natural.
Let's get into it. First and foremost, just overall starting a new kind of journey as creatives. What does that mean to you and what's brought you to this point?
It's such a good question. It's weird. I still can't think of myself as a creative. But I've always, liked reading, writing, and traveling. And so for me, starting a blog kind of blends all of those together. I previously did try and start a blog in like 2012 when I was living in Georgia, the country. I did start a blog. I had a few entries. I didn't know anything about how to make it, to push it, to make it make money, have an audience. Yeah. It was basically more of a thing for, you and people who I left behind for that period of time to kind of keep up with my travels. And that kind of just, eventually fell off. But I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed, I found for me, that's how I prepped. And that's how I've always prepped to move to a new country, is to read blogs and try to understand like what it is like for a foreigner there. So it's kind of my inspiration for doing this, is to be, there's a lot more foreigners in Mexico than, let's say, Georgia or Chile. But there's probably not a lot of parents who've sold everything and moved there. And so it'll be a little bit of a different approach to it, just how we did it, how the kids are handling it. how we're figuring things out, like education and that kind of stuff.
And this time around too, you're learning how to code and those types of things. Like we
Yes.
got a template for the website, but Kathleen's really learned everything to tailor it to the way we want it to look.
Yeah. And it's
It's a
hard for
lot of
me.
work. It's definitely a
I
lot.
have a huge new respect for people with websites now. It's a lot. Like every little thing,
Every little thing is
a lot
a
of
different code, and emailing back and forth with customer service and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. And for me, like I was just always, somewhat good at like photography and those types of things, but I've never done it serious. It was just more like Instagram type of pictures. And this time around, just watching and getting influenced by some of these vlogs that I was watching, and I was like, you know what, like that's something that I would want to do and to try. So just picking up the camera and starting to film stuff, and then everything in the back end of it. So learning new programs from Final Cut Pro to um, every Adobe program, and just watching more YouTube videos to try to do small things. So that's kind of where I've been for the last couple of months, is just really trying to learn everything as things come up, because realistically we are trying to grow a brand and our own company, and we want to learn the nitty gritty stuff from ground up, so that we can apply it to um, different parts of the company. And if we eventually deal with clients, or have collaborations and those types of things, we really want to know everything from the inception of the idea. So it's been a lot of work, but honestly, like I think speaking for both of us, we were kind of in a place where we felt like we didn't really have any skills, or
Yeah, we didn't think that we could do this. We thought it was just completely unattainable. And I mean, we also never looked into it. And from starting it, like it is an uphill battle. It is a huge learning curve. Like Mark said, like it takes us a long time, but I mean, we're doing it. And I think you can see improvements. And I have to say, like, Mark is being modest, but he's so good. He's so
am
good.
I
Like he's put together some really good videos and edited some really nice things.
I've had some trusted friends that trusted me to put some videos together for them, and they turned out okay. So yeah, it's been definitely a learning curve, but it's been exciting. And it was always like things that we looked at. We would read blogs and look at vlogs and those types of things, and we always felt like there was something missing. And I
guess you could say, we can say it on here. Like sometimes we would read blogs and we would watch vlogs and be like, it's good, but I could do better. Or you know what, they should be doing this. And you kind of like, you're that kind of silent hater that's like sitting on your couch not doing it, but being like,
but you're still supporting. You're not hating, but
but a little critiquing.
Well, it's like you find things that are missing. No one will connect 100% with anything in life. Vlogs, blogs, friends, like there's always something else. But then you're like, there's something missing, and there's something I'd like to add to it, and I'd like to do things. Or something I'd like to see. So that's kind of where the inception of More Life Diaries came about. And we're like, we want to do it our way. What we would want to watch and what we would want to read is something we can't find. So let's just do it.
Make it.
And it holds us accountable, and also it motivates us to push this thing further. And on that topic, what does More Life Diaries mean to you? And also, do you remember where the name came about, or how the name came about?
So for me, the More Life Diaries, it's just I mean, the diaries part, it's like a journal. Like we're kind of we're showing our journey through this. We're keeping a diary of it, our everyday, what we're going through, how we're feeling. So that's the diary part. And the more life is just, we're in our 30s. It's not, you know, something that people would easily just be like, all right, I'm going to start a whole new job. This is not even a whole new job. This is a whole different career, different path, different country. But we're kind of in search of this, idea that there is more to life and there's more to be had than just, now we're in our careers and we're just going to stay there till we retire. So it's our journey to find more in life than what we were, kind of promised or sold on. And it's the diaries of that. So it's following our journey. It's following the ups and the downs and all the good stuff in between. That's what it means to me. And the second part of your question, I think it had something to do with Drake. It's such a stereotype because we're from Toronto.
So from the moment that we decided that we wanted to move out of country, right? Well, even before we wanted to settle down in Mexico, we had considered a few other options. And then when we, pinpointed in Mexico, and you guys can listen to the first episode for a little bit more detail in regards to that, that's when we first decided that, we're going to move to Mexico. We're going to document it. We're going to do this and that. And then it grew from there. And then obviously we needed a name, and the name is very important for our brand. In my opinion, like I studied in marketing, it can make or break anything in life. Like sometimes I just cringe at some of the names that I see, and hope some people will cringe at this one perhaps, but it is what it is. We chose it and we love it. So yeah, I think at that point in our life, like we were both kind of in a somewhat dark place, but seeing the light, especially now that we had decided that we were going to do these things. So there was a little bit of excitement, and we were looking for a name. And then at that point, I was going on my daily runs, and for some reason, like I was just bumping that "More Life" by Drake, that album, over and over. And it was like super inspiring. And it might sound cheesy to say, but it was very inspiring. There's some good songs on there that we were connecting to. And then I think I came up to you and I was like, how about "More Life Diaries"? And then you liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I was a little like, okay, I don't want people to think we're ripping off Drake here,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it made sense. And now I don't even associate it with.
It is. It's just essentially a common saying.
It is a common saying. So
even before whatever Drake, or after he obviously made it popular, but overall it does mean a lot to us. And for me, More Life, it's as Kathleen said, it's like the journey and the diaries to us pursuing our dreams and us pursuing more life and living outside of that box, and those cultural standards that are essentially set for us from a young age. And it's breaking that mold. And the More Life Diaries parts of it, it's almost like it's not a new chapter in life per se. I'm looking at it as a completely different book to life.
Different volume.
It's a different volume. It's like volume more. It's like this one is never ending. And it is very meaningful to us. And it's straight to the point, like More Life Diaries. And that's what we're going to brand everything around. Podcast, blog, YouTube channel, Instagram account, everything will be More Life Diaries. And we love it. I hope you guys love it too.
Hope it's not cringe.
Some people will cringe. Leave a comment below if you're cringing. Leave a comment below if you love it. And that takes us to something we want to discuss as well, and that's the concept of letting go. Obviously, with a big move like this, you have to let go of many things because you can't bring a lot of things with you physically because, in our situation, we're driving down there. So we have limited amounts of cargo space to bring stuff down. but even more than just physical things, letting go of insecurities, letting go of some people that are weighing you down. Um, and then obviously letting go and detaching from some things that you may have had an attachment to. And what's your take on that?
Yeah. I mean, the last podcast, we talked a little bit about decluttering and how much, how hard that was. And these are just tangible items that you have to kind of part with. Maybe you hold some sort of emotional attachment to them. Another big part, like you said, is these non-tangible items, mindset, plans that you had, people in your life. Like it is necessary not just for people who like us who are doing this move, but I think if you're trying to just move from one stage of life to another, if you're trying to improve in any way, I mean, letting go of certain beliefs that you might have had in the past about yourself, about the world, about other people, your mindset, like I said. And, unfortunately, in some people's cases, people you have to, declutter from your life, or at least to a certain extent, maybe you're seeing them less. And I don't want, if anyone's listening to this, I don't mean that we're decluttering people because we're leaving them back in Canada and we're moving. It's not
Not
something like that. I think it was just, as we mentioned, that we were kind of in a dark space about a year ago. Kind of seeing who was there for us, who wasn't, and sort of letting go of those friendships that didn't make it through. Letting go of the mindset that was keeping us in the dark place. Letting go of some of those plans that we were, thinking that we were going to do, and that kind of pulled us into that dark space because we thought we weren't going to get them. But looking towards the light and, what's coming next and the new things. And I think once we made the plan to move, even before it was necessarily Mexico, it was our new thing that we were attaching ourselves to. And then we let go of some of the old mindsets. And I think it just brought a positive mindset for us. It brought this whole idea of creativity and things that we thought we could never accomplish that now seem so attainable. Yeah,
Yeah, for the last little bit, like Kathleen and I have been doing a lot of work on ourselves and on our mindset and being able to be more confident and let go of some of those insecurities, as mentioned, that we may have had. And I think we've done a really good job, especially this year. It was like 2022 just started, and we're just completely new people. We had like built this armor, and like nothing can stop us now. And we feel even more strongly like that going into this big move and as we approach it. So not only did we let go of our insecurities, but our confidence is sky high.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of self-reflection and self-worth. And on the topic of letting go of certain people, it's not that, I'm not talking to you anymore because I hate you or anything like that. It's just some people in our lives, and that's even, before the last couple of years. Like, some people just never change. It doesn't mean that you're not talking to them anymore or you're not friends anymore per se. People grow apart, and a friend that you may have had 10, 15, whatever in the past, you guys have done so much growing in separate ways, right? So much growing has been done on both parties' end. And that doesn't mean that, you guys can relate the way that you used to relate in the past. And that's okay. People grow and people, have new beliefs, and people's life change. And sometimes it's almost like it's an inconvenience to try to keep those people around. Like, you feel like you owe something to them or you owe something to that relationship.
It's like an obligation.
And it becomes like it weighs you down, and it disables you from moving forward. And unfortunately, like, I've had to let go of some people in the past that, they just didn't change. And it's difficult, but it needs to happen sometimes.
Yeah, like sometimes if it's, you have to kind of look at it just like when you're, talking about actual things. Like if this relationship no longer or isn't helping you move forward, then it's holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's holding you back, like you can't give it, all your attention and your time. It's not to say that you completely cut that person off, but maybe you're spending a little bit less time with them. They're not so much of a priority, and they could come back and you guys could make friends again, but or become close again, but you're just not at the same spot in life. You're just not aligned, and it kind of just makes it, it's hard to have sometimes even deep conversations with those people because they're just not ready for what you have to say, or you're just not on the right wavelength. Like, they're doing their own thing. And
two completely different wavelengths, and there's no issue with that at all.
There's no right or wrong place to be, but when you're not on the same one, it's hard to.
It's difficult, and there's no depth to the conversations that you're having. Everything is very casual and surface levels, and I think we're both in a position now where we want to be motivated and have thoughtful, deep conversations with people and get to know people for who they are, and not necessarily what they're doing or how their day at work was,
or what they're watching on
Netflix. Like, we're really trying to be motivated to be creators and to create new things and have new ideas and get new perspectives on life. And there's just very little time for surface level friendships and surface level conversations where we're at in life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no issues with having those conversations here and there, but you just can't put all of your time and effort into those because as we mentioned, like, really weighs you down, and sometimes it just full out demotivates you. Like, we've had some conversations in the last year or so that they're just disappointing.
Yeah, they're a little heartbreaking, a little frustrating
with people that we used to be close friends with, and and it's just been a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and even if we're talking on the subject of moving abroad, and I've been through this a couple times, but I think this time, because we're older, we have kids, it hits even harder when you tell someone like, hey, yeah, I'm going to move to Mexico, or we're going to leave our work and we're going to leave our home and move to Mexico, uproot everything. I mean, you can really see, the different mindsets there with the reaction. Some people just don't get it, and that's fine. Like, it's not their thing. It's not something that they'd ever think to do. They're not interested in it. But I mean,
I call those people why people, because they ask you why you're doing it. They want you to justify to them why you're doing it, to try to pinpoint their insecurities in what you're saying. And then once they've pointed it out, they say, I can't do this because of this. I'm tied down here, or I have a job, or whatever it may be. And those are the why people. And then there's the second type of people that we would tell, and those are typically people on the same wavelength as us. And you would tell them, and they just said, yeah, I totally understand. Like, that's awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. I get it. There's no why per se, or if there is, it's just like, oh, like,
how did you come to
how
this?
did you come to that? Yeah.
Why did you choose this? Like, more curiosity and more trying to get, an understanding of what, like, where we're at and like how we got there and how we were able to plan it. I mean, we actually have friends that we told, and now they're also coming.
Yeah.
So, the next time we talked to them, like, he had sold his car and it was bought us something new so he could come down. So, I mean, it's just, there's
definitely, like you said, there's two wavelengths, and one wavelength, they just don't understand, which is 100% fine. And the other ones with very little explanation, they just they get it, completely get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
sometimes that first type of people, like, they can cause some self-doubt. There's just like a reaction of, their insecurities, the scarcity, the there could be no good thing coming from this, and like you're gonna regret it. And like those conversations for us, I mean, obviously we've gone through our doubts, we've gone through our worries, and we've worked through those and like talked about them. But to have someone else just react with the negativity, it's just like, like I don't. That's not why I'm telling you, right? Like I'm not asking permission. I'm not asking you to tell me if it's a good idea or not. I'm just telling you because this is what's happening. And
like I'm telling you for us to share this moment and be excited together. And a lot of people just aren't that excited, and because they're doubtful in their own choices most of the time and insecure. But it's not about them per se. It's just about a friend telling another friend.
Yeah.
And that's caused a lot of doubt. Like when someone reacts that way, whether it be a family member or a close friends, like it really takes you back. And then you're like, am I doing the right thing? Or, am I just going through a moment in my head like a maniac and just like deciding off the cuff that I'm going to change my whole life? But realistically, we recognize that we've always lived a little bit differently than some of our friends, and we're comfortable.
Yeah.
we're comfortable being like that. And we're very clear and we're thinking very clearly. I can't remember any other time in my life where everything's been just so clear to me, and my ambitions and motivations have been so clear to me.
Yeah. I think like this is probably the period of time where we've had the least self-doubt.
Yeah.
If I think about when I started a new job somewhere, I was always like, oh my God, like I shouldn't be here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like just self-doubt after self-doubt after self-doubt. And I don't know if it's because maybe I've just worked on myself where I don't feel that way anymore, just being older and confident. But yeah, I don't feel that amount of self-doubt. I mean, there's things that sneak in there every once in a while, especially when people say things. But overall, I just feel like in my bones, to my core, this is the path we should be taking. And
yeah, and like ever since we put it out into the universe has been like reciprocating these signs, and like just a whole bunch of signs for us to kind of keep going. And it may sound silly to some, but when you do put stuff out into the ether like that, like it does send you signs back. And it's up to you to receive them or completely ignore them and then be led like blindly pretty much.
Yeah.
But we've really tapped into those signs, and like good things have been happening for us, and it's just been motivating us to keep going and keep pushing, to keep working on our craft, and to share with you guys our journey behind the scenes, from the creation to the idea of More Life Diaries to wherever it's going to go and wherever it's going to take us, but also share bits and pieces of our life and our motivations and our mindset, and
from Toronto to Puerto Vallarta and who knows wherever.
To the world.
More life worldwide.
Yeah. And just to circle back to what we were consuming before, we always felt that there was a little bit of a disconnect between like people vlogging and blogging about their journey and how they got there, because a lot has to do with mindset, to actually just be able to pick up and leave and travel the world. And a lot of people share the actual travel part of it, which is great, and they're showing you the beautiful places that they're going, but again, there's no depth to that. There's no mindset or emotion behind it.
Yeah, so true. There's a few people that we follow that also just picked up and moved to Mexico, and it's like, why though? Like you don't just wake up one day and like, I'm going to move to Mexico. There must be some sort of story behind it, some sort of motivation, some change that you're looking for, some dream that you're chasing. And yeah, they never really get into that. And I think we're going to get into it.
And yeah, that's kind of where we saw a little bit of a disconnect. So that's why we're pushing our own brand and pushing our own kind of way of thinking from this moment here, before we actually get to the traveling, and then the traveling. And we're going to continue doing these podcasts, every week or so that we can share what's really going on in our head and in our lives as well. And that's it.
That's it.
So on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, for listening if you made it this far. If you enjoy the content and if you want to follow our journey, please subscribe, like, comment, review wherever you can. It'd be greatly appreciated and keep us motivated to keep going. And we want you guys there with us every step of the way.
Ask questions, leave comments. Be nice.
Do all the good stuff. Or be haters in the comments. It's all good. We're big boys and big girls. All right, guys. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. More life.